fact, today we do a very beautiful poem by the Nun Subha, Subha Therigatha. And you see, the thing about monks and nuns who meditate, especially the time of Buddha, they're all very happy people, unequivocally happy people. Of course, before that, their lives can be quite troubling, great difficulty. But the key word, if you ask me one word in Buddhism, what would summarize Buddhism that would help you as a person, I would say joy. Joy. And 3 letters. Each letter represents one of the 3 jewels, J-O-Y. Because whatever we do, we are looking for joy, happiness. There are many words for joy in Buddhism. Okay? Because without joy, you can't do anything. Joy is one food, one nutriment we must never forget in our lives. With no joy, nothing works for us. We won't be happy, our family won't be happy, our marriage won't be happy, our work won't be happy. But if you have joy, no matter what happens, things will work out somehow. Because this joy is telling you you're okay, you're alright. People may be a little troubling, but again, it's nobody's fault, it's the conditions, nature of things. So if you have this joy, you openly accept other people, other beings, your environment, and you are empowered to change the situation. That's the wonderful thing. So joy is this energy which we have inside us. It comes from inside. It's not from outside. And this is another second teaching in Buddhism. Happiness comes from inside. This is why we study suttas, so that we understand the nature of the mind. We look at some of the instructions, how to meditate, how to be at peace with ourselves. And we learn all this thing. We master them. The Buddha has done it. The Buddha has taught his monks, and all these teachings have been handed down to us through these kinds of suttas. These suttas, they are not ordinary literature. They are kind of, this genre is like between computer programming and Shakespeare, let's say, something like that. If you study the suttas, you find they are very repetitive. Many of them are repetitive because they are meant to instruct. They are meant to give us step-by-step, what we call instructions for us, how to train our minds, to be at peace with ourselves. Just like in a computer program, if you remove one line, it won't work. Sometimes even one word, it might not work. Right? So it's very important for us when we read suttas to read everything. And once you master the suttas, then you don't need them. In the sense that once you know the programming, you let the program run itself. See? You don't read the programs. You see what's on screen or whatever the program is meant to do. Right? So that's what the suttas do for us. But you got to know the suttas. Understandably, you can never have a huge big crowd with cheap suttas. I mean, nobody will come for a computer programming course, you know what I mean? But there's certain people who are really technically inclined, who know how to use programming. But you need some of this kind of people. If you don't have people who know programming, there will be no computer programs, there will be no computers. So you need suttas. The sutta preserves the teaching of the mental teaching of the Buddha, happy teachings of the Buddha, right down to our age, 2,600 years ago. Not only the Buddha, there are other monks and nuns, men and women, who became awakened and were happy. So this is one example of a woman, Subha Therigatha. She was a very young and beautiful nun. And this is a story about her difficulties. In some ways, being a pretty young woman, she was stalked by this young man on the road, who tried to accost her. In a sense, tried to seduce her, even almost rape her, if you like. And the question is, how did she change this young man? How did she protect herself? This poem also is beautiful in the sense that it's a nature poem. Very beautiful nature poem. There's a lot we can talk about this sutta, but I only talk within this time that is limited to us. Of course, you can look at for the whole sutta and the notes on in this volume, right? SD 20, chapter 7. Subha Theri, you can see the words on the board. Therigatha, verses 366 to 399. Those numbers because the verses. Theri means elder nun. Elder nun. Okay? This is a general word for the nuns in the early days. Thera is the general word for the monks. Because by the time the monks are ordained, they are senior in terms of spirituality, the early years. No? So Gatha means verses. The verses of the Elder Nun Subha. Now the key word in this Therigatha, in this set of verses of the Nun Subha, is seeing, sight. We are looking at this theme of seeing and sight on two levels. The normal bodily level, if you like, and the mental or spiritual level. Okay, so it's a very beautiful poem in that kind of teaching us how to see beyond our eyes. Sometimes we meet people, you find they only appear to be nice, appear to be kind, appear to be wise and clever, appear to be good even, but the reality is different. So we must have that kind of the eye that can see through things. And besides the kind of eye, you also need the eye of compassion. Because sometimes when we see certain things, we might not be happy. But one of the most difficult work is actually doing Buddhist work, because you meet all kinds of people, they have problems, they come and tell you, and you keep hearing the same problems every time. Some monks, they almost give up. I said, why do people ask the same questions every time? Every time there are problems, my teacher said, well, you should be happy, you ask you the same question, then you give them the same answers. Because you keep asking every time a new question, is more difficult. So the idea is, this eye that we have, we should not merely see on the surfaces. Buddhism teaches us to see deeper, right, through everything, so that we are wise ourselves, we can see within ourselves too. And the word is insight, you sight into ourselves, into others. And from there we rouse compassion. Compassion means to be kind to others, even when they don't deserve it. Why do we need to show compassion? Because of the times that we ourselves do not deserve it. So we would like people to be nice and kind to us. Sometimes people don't understand us. So we put ourselves in a vicarious position, just like in the other person's place, so to speak. Right, let us begin with this beautiful poem, page 74. The verses of the Elder Nun Subha of Jivaka's Mango Grove. Right, so there are two Subhas, by the way. One is called Subha, the smith's daughter. Okay, these two Subhas are mentioned. Let me just go back a bit, tell you more about the nuns. The two Subhas are mentioned in section 3 of this SD 20.7. It is on page 67. The first Subha is called Kamaradita, daughter of the smith. And then the second one is the one that we are studying today. She's got a long name, actually it's just a nickname. Jivakamba Vanika. Jivaka is the name of this famous doctor, the Buddha and Dr. Buddha King. Amba means mango. Vana means grove or forest. Vanika means someone who lives in that grove or forest. So this Subha, she either lives in this mango grove, or the story that we're looking at took place there. Yeah? And this mango grove is famous because Ambapali also, I think, lived there, and there are quite a number of nuns besides her. And in fact, the other Subha also seems to be there. Yeah? And there's a list of famous nuns which I've listed. If you like to look at some of the famous nuns, there are a few hundred of them, but here just I think 28, pages 71 to 73. That's all this summary of the famous nuns. Now we come to page 74, Therigatha 366 to 399. The verse opens with the words of the council elders, Sangitikara. And they are the narrators, so they're telling us the kind of background. Verse 1, first verse in the list here, or verse 366 of the Therigatha. While the nun Subha was going to the delightful Jivaka's mango grove, a road stops her. So Subha says this to him. Right? So when you read the suttas, when you read the poems, it's literature. Okay? So you have to know who's the narrator, who's telling the story. So here, it's not the Buddha talking, it's those elder nuns who gather together to recite their teachings, and preserve the teachings. Verse 2. So who's talking here? Of course, here I've added in all these names for you, the headers, Subha, and so actually in the original text there are no such words, but the teachers will tell you, they know who's talking, they will tell you. What wrong have I done to you that you stand in my way? It's not fitting, sir, that a man should touch a woman gone forth. Right? So why are you stopping at us, this young man? This young man is a handsome young man, rich young man, probably a goldsmith's son. He's kind of drunk actually. And he somehow probably has been thinking of this girl, so he stops along this lonely, beautiful park. Then Subha continues her pleas. In my teacher's strict teaching, taught by the Sugata, the well-gone one, in the blemish-free purified state, why do you stand in my way? So what Subha is saying, look, I'm a nun, I have nothing to do with sensual pleasures. Do not disturb me, leave me alone. So probably he's still looking at him and saying this, and he doesn't seem to budge, and probably holding her. So she continues, verse 4, disturbed is your mind, undisturbed am I. Dusted with passion are you, but dust-free am I. This word dust is a common Indian figure, I should say. Dust. Why dust? When dust gets in your eyes, you can't see clearly. So desire, lust is compared to dust. Without any depravity or without any impurity. All my mind is liberated. Why do you stand in my way? Right? So she says, now that she's already awakened, so she doesn't have all these worldly feelings anymore. Right, talking about all these worldly feelings. Right? Of course, if she's an arahat, so obviously she'll have nothing to do with the body in the sense of sensual pleasure. Now, in Buddhist practice, we have two levels of discipleship, if you like. You can be a good disciple as a monk, as a nun, yes, if you are ready. But most of us would be disciples of the Buddha as lay people, even married lay people. I would say, if you can't be a monk or a nun, you can still be very good disciple of the Buddha as married people. Because in that way, you bring happiness to the world. There are more non-monks and non-nuns than in the world, and not everybody in the world can become monks and nuns. It's impossible. So there's two categories of sainthood. You got the celibate saints, and you got, if you like, the layman saints. They're all called saints. They're all awakened, on the way to awakening. So as lay people, our main practice is to reflect on impermanence. Regularly reflect on impermanence. That will wise us up, bring us wisdom, strengthen us, and also give us the energy to help others. The reflection on impermanence. In many ways, this sutta here, this poem here, is also a reflection on impermanence. Right, so now the rope replies. Now what's interesting is in this poem, the rope is never mentioned, there's no name. It could be anybody. I think it's better his name is not mentioned, because we might think of him evil as being bad forever. So there's no name mentioned there, just the rope, it could be anyone, alright? So the young man, the rope says, you are young and not bad looking, or you can also translate this word as innocent, Pali word, apapika. In fact, papika means bad, evil. So apapika literally means not bad. Right? So even in our language you say not bad, that means nice, or innocent, not knowing any evil, not knowing any bad. What good is going forth for you? So it's a young, beautiful nun, so this young man say, what's the point of you becoming a nun? Throw away your brown robes. So we have a good idea of what kind of robes they wear at the time. Come, let us delight in the flowering grove. Right? So look, this beautiful park, let us enjoy it. So this is where this young man, his mind is kind of full of desire. He sees nature as a place for, pleasurable things. Whereas for the nuns and monks and for practicing Buddhists, we see nature as a peaceful place for meditation. And now he starts using various natural imageries of pleasure. For example, he says, verse 6, the trees, their sweetness wafting, and the flower pollen welling up all around. Early spring is a joyous season. Come, let us delight in the flowering grove. Incidentally, this is also early spring, by the way. New Year is coming. Chinese New Year. So it's just the right time. Okay? So this the young man is evoking all these pleasurable feelings about nature around. And the trees with flowery crests cry out, as it were, when stirred by the breeze. So you can see he's using imageries of desire and pleasure. Okay? What delight is there for you if you were to plunge alone into the grove? So here you see this young man says, what's for you being alone? Why don't you pair with me? So that's the way of the world. You have more children, right? In Singapore, they're trying very hard now. You see today's paper saying that Singaporeans producing children. And then after that, produce too much and you have another problem. So then you go back to say, okay, stop producing. so we're like musical notes producing babies. Okay, so verse 8. Haunted by hordes of beasts and prey and disturbed by bull elephants in rut, is the forest remote and fearful, into which you wish to go without a companion. Okay, now it's subtly frightening her, Say, I have to go to this forest, very dangerous, the animals hurt you, but here, I'll protect you, Almost like a teenager, a teenage boy, a teenage girl, And then he goes on with other imageries. You will go about like a doll of shining gold, like a nymph or an apsara in Chitarata. Now she's looking at him as an he's looking at her, as an object. He says, wow, you're like a beautiful doll. And you hear a lot of this in the pop songs of the 50s, 60s. Nowadays you don't hear it. Now there's more noise than anything else in the pop songs. There's no more pop song, I think. There's something else. So this young man looks at the girl and says, look, you are beautiful like a doll, painted doll especially, of gold. Or like a nymph. A nymph is one of those heavenly, beautiful deities. Chitarata is one of those lower pleasurable heavens. Oh, incomparable one, you will shine in delicate Kasi cloth and lovely clothes. Now this one rich young man telling the girl, I'll get you all these expensive clothes. Today, Kasi will be like Paris. I'll get you Paris perfume, Paris dress, whatever. I will yield to your power. I will be at your beck and call if we are to dwell in the grove. So here's the usual promise, and the boy tells the girl, listen to everything you say, what's the very discovery around? But there is none breathing dearer to me than you, O Kimnari, with tender eyes. So here, again, it's almost like one of those teenage songs. You are more precious to me than anything in the world. Okay? Kinari. Now, Kinari is a mythical figure. It's half bird, half human. They wander in the remote parts of the forest. It's very hard to catch them. They're very beautiful. Here again, see the word Kim Nari. Kim means king. What? Nari, person. What kind of person? So they can half human, half bird. So it shows that the human is not fully developed yet. The sense of an animal instinct is there. So the young man is saying that he has got this desire in him. Animal desires, if you like. Verse 11. If you will do as I say, come dwell happily in a house, be a dweller of a wind-free palace. Let the women do all your work. Nice. Here you are, promising a nice home. See, come, let us have a home. This is just the opposite of what the nun is. She just left home. Here, the young man is invited her to come back. She says that you can be happy, but this nun knows very well that's not the way. We leave home to be happy. Now, like I said, if you can't be a monk or a nun, it's okay. It's just that conditions are such. But every time you come here to study the suttas, you are renouncing your home. I am also renouncing my home. I've left my children at home, all my kids at home, and here we are in this neutral territory, so to speak, this temporary nirvana called the minding center, and we've renounced the world for a while. And when we sit down to meditate, we renounce our senses. We just let them go for a while. So we look directly into the mind. And we can do this temporary renunciation anytime we want to without becoming monks and nuns if the conditions are not right. So this is where, remember, meditation is the real practice of renunciation. Meaning, renouncing greed, hate, delusion. That's the ultimate renunciation. That's the real renunciation. Getting rid of greed, hate, delusion. Getting rid of craving and ignorance. This is what becoming a Buddhist is about. Not a member of a nice, huge, big, colorful temple, a big group. We learn to discover ourselves. We are happy with ourselves. That's the main thing. Yeah? Then the man goes on to say, verse 12, wear delicate khasi cloth and beautify yourself with garlands and makeup. I will make numerous ornaments of gold, gems, and pearls for you. He was a goldsmith anyway. So here, what you see, the monks, nuns' dress is very simple. Right? They all look alike. It never goes out of fashion, by the way. That's something I love about the monks' robes. Very convenient. You can wear the same thing. It doesn't change. And but here, this young man is saying, look, why don't you change yourself? Wear all these nice things. Now, once people start wearing nice things, then you begin to identify them with those things rather than their true personality, right? For example, you find some religious teachers, they dress, wow, very flashy clothes, to show their rank and power. But the monks, they shave off their hair. Even the hair is a sign of power, like the noble princes, they have long hair, see? They show power, masculinity, virility, and so on. So the idea of being a monk is to dress simple. So even as Buddhists, we dress simple. On Sunday, when you go to the temples or during festival days, we dress very simply, comfortably. And during retreats, we wear white, right? So that we don't have to worry about what kind of clothes to wear. We dress simple, simplicity, happiness with that simplicity is important for us. 13. Climb into a very costly bed, decorated with sandalwood, scented with essences. Its beautiful canopy well washed of dirt, with a spread of long fleece bed cover and a fresh quilt. Right? So that's what marriage is about. You have a house, you have a bed, produce babies, right? So it is very interesting because the early monks and nuns, they were homeless ones. Okay? They live home. Some of them live in the open under trees. And Buddha used to tell stories, sometimes kind of gently joking. He was talking about the evolution of the world. He said at some point, human beings started building houses. And why do they build houses? So that they can couple together away from people because they're shy to show people this. So they build houses for producing babies. That's a rather interesting remark. Anyway, so remember here the Buddha is not saying marriage is bad or what. He's just saying you've got to respect one another. That's what the third precept is about. To be happy. So that the children that you produce will be happy people and they grow up to be mature, good adults. Who knows, they might be good Dharma teachers, kind people who help our society become better. That's the kind of idea. Verse 14. Just as a blue lotus meant to be very beautiful. Just as a blue lotus risen up from the water, enjoyed by no humans, even so you, Brahmacharini, will come to decay in your own limbs. So this time it's kind of, again, almost desperation is telling his nun, look, if we don't, if we don't make love and if you don't bow with me, you end up a spinster, like a blue lotus. A blue lotus is rare and beautiful, very hard to see them, They're not really blue, it's more like purplish, And this flower will blossom in the desert, unseen, unsung, unheard, so to speak. Right? So what a waste, something like that. So you will die, you will shrivel away, your youth and beauty will go away. Now he really talks a lot, how many verses he has said. And now Subha replies with one verse. Subha says, verse 15, What is it that you take to be the essence here? In what is full of dead things? What fills the cemeteries full? So this is the Dharma teaching. So Subha tells this young man, so what do you see in me? This all dead things, cells and all this hair and everything all falling off, you know. And this body will fill the cemeteries. Having seen this carcass habitually breaking up, take care that you do not go out of your mind. So Subha is warning this young man, says, if you only know the true nature of this body, you wouldn't say all these things. Now here, Subha is speaking for herself, and is trying to, like, if you like, meet halfway with this young man who still has lust in his eye. Then the young man continues, you know, probably he cuts in again, and he says, your eyes are like a fawn's or a doe's, or like those of a kinari in the mountains. Gazing at your eyes, my sensual delight grows all the more. At this point, probably the nun is kind of looking at her and telling her, you know, to stress this point. Otherwise, most monks and nuns will never look at you directly when they talk to you. They kind of look down, okay, so that there's no misunderstanding. I'm not sure here whether these rules about monks and nuns need to look down already was enforced or not. It could have been enforced after this, we're not so sure. So the idea is to, you know, so that other people do not have wrong feelings towards a holy person. Gazing at your eyes in your spotless face like gold, comparable to a lotus bud, my sensual delight grows. What is the Lord saying here? No, he focuses only on the eye and the face. Here is a warning, you know, that you never fall in love. Well, you might think you're in love with the person because of only one part of the person, the eye, face, you know. But in order to stay in love, you have to love the total person. And here it's not just the body, everything. Over time, by the way, not just the period when she's pretty and nice. Right? 18. Even if you are gone far away, I shall remember you. Your long eyelashes, your pure gaze. For no eyes are dearer to me than yours, O Kimnara of gentle eyes. And this last line is quite tricky. Some translators have found this difficult to translate. So there's still a discussion on not 16. You can read it up on your own if you like. My choice of translation is this: for no eyes are dearer to me than yours. And because if you follow the flow of the story, he's looking at her eyes. Wow, you got such beautiful eyes. So basically, he's saying, I wonder, you know, something like that. And Subha replies and says, verse 19, you wish to go by the wrong path. You seek the moon for sport. You wish to leap over Mount Meru. You long for one who is Buddha born. Right? So, yeah, Subha is almost like pleading with this young man, saying, you must be crazy, you know? You can't have these things, you know? I mean, you think what, you have to take the moon and play with the moon like a ball, you know? The moon is far away, you can't do that anyway. And you'll jump over this highest mountain in the world, Mount Meru. Mount Meru actually is the center of the universe. Right? Of course, if you like even the Himalayas, it's impossible to jump over the Himalayas. And you are falling in love with someone who's Buddha born. Buddha born, it means awakened or the ordained under the Buddha. There is no lust for me anywhere. Here in the world with its devas, I know not what it would be like, for it has been killed down to the roots like a path. So when she's awakened, it says, I remove desire totally. How is that possible? Because she's attained very deep meditation. If you do deep meditation, it's so joyful. And when you feel joyful, you'll never be enticed into breaking the precepts. You'll never feel good doing something bad. Right? So someone who's meditated and experienced joyful jhanas will find the joy of the body most distasteful. So that's why the monks, they should do deep meditation, jhana meditation. So they do not need sex, they do not need families, they don't have a family life for that reason. That's why I said these are two choices we have. Right? as monks and nuns or as lay people. You can do either one. Of course, lay people, you may take slightly longer, but you get there anyway. It's like we're taking the side road, whereas the monk take a highway. So we want to enjoy the journey a bit, but we are still heading in the same direction, so to speak. 21. It's like flaming tongues leaping out of a firing coal pit. It's fire burning outside. Like a bowl of poison, its potency gone, set before the eyes, so to speak. I see not what it would be, for it has been killed down to the root by the path. So she says this lust, desire is like poison, but now it doesn't work for me anymore. I'm free from it. 22. If it were for one unreflective or one who has not served the teacher, the Buddha that is, you could have lusted for someone like that. But having lusted for this one who knows you will grieve, so don't think of me. You will never be able to marry me. You never have me as a partner, so you just feel sad. Let go. 23. For in the midst of blame and praise, joy and sorrow, my mindfulness stands firm. So I'm not troubled by the conditions of the world. Praise and blame. You can praise me, blame me, I'm not moved. I'm beyond joy and sorrow, according to Subha. Knowing that the condition is foul, my mind clings not to anything at all. Right? So my mind is free of opinions or views. 24. The well-gone one's disciple am I. This is a bit of a line draw. She declares, I am the Buddha's disciple. A traveler in the vehicle on the Eightfold Path. Or you can translate as traveling in the vehicle that is the Eightfold Path. The dart is drawn out. The dart is suffering, is drawn out. Free from the influxes. Influxes are what goes to our six senses and builds it up to help us, make us continue suffering and desiring and so on. I delight having gone into an empty house, right? Meaning meditation. For I have seen the well-painted puppets and marionettes. Now she's addressing what this robe says. This is pretty dolls. Oh, I've seen all these puppets and marionettes. Each start with sticks and strings and made to dance in various ways. He says, oh no, I'm not going to be like a puppet. You can controlled by desire and negative emotion. 26. Removed are those strings and sticks, thrown away, broken, scattered, not to be found, made into bits and pieces. Where would the mind find a roost? Or you can translate the last phrase as, on what would this mind fix itself? Right? So she's talking about arahathood. All the desires, views, negative thoughts, all are gone, finished. So nothing can control her anymore. It's like a remote control. You remove the battery, you can't use it anymore. She's in charge of herself. 27. This body of mine, being of such a kind, exists not without these states. When it exists not with any state, where would the mind find roost? Or in what would the mind fix itself? Right? So now she's saying, my consciousness is such it doesn't rest on anything anymore. This is a description of the awakened consciousness. 38. Just as you, when you see a picture painted on the wall, perverse is your view, the perception that they are human is groundless. Right? So using a bit of an artistic imagery. So if you see paintings, pictures, they look like human beings, but they're just paint, not real. So when you see me, so that's all there is. So these are just the four elements. 29. Like dreaming of a golden tree, made to look real, like an illusion. You blind one, you run after what is false, as if in a sham show in the midst of a crowd, or as if chasing a false image in the midst of a crowd. And so crowds like to enjoy this magic show, illusions, right? But what you are looking for is just an illusion. 30. It is like a ball set in a hollow or solo can also translate socket. She's referring to her eyes. With a bubble in the middle with tears. With an eye secretions arise there in various ways, forming lumps in every eye. And he's really giving me off a real look into what the eyes are like. So this is a meditation on Asubha, the impurities. So she's trying to teach this young man something, but this young man is too drunk, drunk with the craving and drunk with drinks also. And then the council elders tell us something. Okay, at this point, let me just give a bit more commentary. So at this point, this young man is still, kind of very attached to the nun, and she has been telling all these things, and apparently this young man doesn't want to let her go, is still adamant, So after saying all this, she did something shocking. This is what the council elders tell us. Verse 31. Plucking it out, Subha, the one beautiful to behold, and with detached mind, not attached, said, "Come, take you this eye." And she gave it to the man at once. So she plucked out her eye and said, you love this? Here you are, take it, this is what you want, right? Because it's meant to say you got beautiful eyes, I said, here you are, take it. You know the rest of it. Alright? Now here you got to use your imagination a bit, alright? Of course, some pious folk will say, yeah, she actually plucked her eye, okay? Like in the story of King Lear, many of these tragedies, Of course, if you are steeped in psychology, you say, oh, it's just psychological, maybe she used her psychic powers and made this young man envision it. It doesn't matter, okay? Because the meaning of this story is, you cannot love just a part of the person. Then you might as well just marry a part of the person. If you say nice ears, marry the ear, Or nice hair, you marry the hair. It doesn't make sense, right? You've got to love the total person. Okay? Who is a person? That's another thing. I've written some that about it. You should read that in their website. Right? So it says, come, you want this? Take this. Here's what you like. 32. And at once his passion ceased. So this is a shock. If someone gives you an eye, it's frightening, I remember once I got this terrible cut on my hand here. Because it's pet monkey, but it's not very friendly. I came just too near this monkey. It's in the monastery, actually, tied to a tree. He only fears the abbot, but I tried to befriend this monkey, but he came just near enough to give me a ninja swipe with a claw, and it just cut. And suddenly it opened. See, this part is somehow there's not much blood there. It opened up, and I was amazed. I was not a bit frightened. I was more amazed and curious. I said, wow, what's this like now? My skeleton. So I could see my bone there, white in color. There was no blood. And my friend was with me. I said, hey, look, you can see my bone. And the poor guy did the fainted. Oh no, please don't show me this. So this is where, it can be terrifying when you really see yourself in that way. At least to the other person. I suppose his drunkenness is disappearing already. Becoming more sober, so it's only an eyeball. So it's got a shock. And 32, and at once his passion ceased. Why? Samvega. Samvega is a sense of urgency. You are faced with reality, and that is like the rug has been pulled away from you. Okay, so suddenly he's confronted by true reality. That's what the eye is. You say you love it, look at it, right? So suddenly he finds out it is not what he thought it would be. Because if you take the eye out of this context, there's no beauty anymore. And right there he begged for a forgiveness. And then he says, behold again Brahmacharini, who lives the holy life. Brahmacharini actually is a Brahmachari is a bachelor, or rather a celibate person. Brahmacharini is the woman who is celibate, who lives the holy life. Such a thing will not happen again. Oh no, so when you be healed, please don't do this. In violating such a person, in embracing such a blazing fire, I have seized a venomous serpent. Behold again, forgive me. Of course, she couldn't heal the nun, the nun still took out the eye. But the story continues. the last verse, verse 34. And then freed from him, so finally he goes away. And then freed from him, the nun went into the noble Buddha's presence. Seeing the one with the marks of noble merit, her eye became whole again as before. Right? So you see the Buddha, the story like that. She was healed. So here again, you can take the eye-pulling, eye-extracting incident. It could be psychological, or maybe she really did it, and because she's an arahat, and she could easily heal herself. But this healing aspect is not so important. The idea is we're talking about you can't just love a part of a person. And to be awakened means to see yourself more than just body and mind, beyond that. So this is the beautiful poem of Subha Therigatha. So do read through this poem by yourself, and then look at the notes. There are lots of notes at the bottom of the page or introduction. Alright, so any questions for today? So this poem is more like a reflection also. You can read through and just reflect on it. And it's a very beautiful stories to remind us. Let's say one day your son or daughter comes to you and say, I'm in love with this guy, he's got very nice eyes. Here you are, let me tell you the eye story. And you got to love the total person, not just the eyes. That's called infatuation, right? Of course, we may start by falling in love with a part of a person. That's your past karma, As you see somebody and then something bright shines and the whole world stops and you just see this person in front of you. But you got to start examining, how do I really become true friends with this person? How do we get to know each other? Right? So this courting period is very important. The courting period is the part where you get to know a person before you live forever. So the idea is to really know a person. So marriage is also about that. Not marriage is about knowing your partner. Every day you got to see this person you love, especially your spouse, people close to you, anyone in fact important to you. When you meet them every day, you should tell yourself it's like you are meeting this person the first time in your life. Surprise yourself, don't assume things. Be curious about this person. That's why we say good morning, how are you, things like that. Because we want to get an update on people when we meet them. So remember this first meeting principle, especially people you love, never assume. Because once you assume you have frozen them in an idea, that's what they are. Permanently, they're mummified already. So you must always, every time in the morning you wake up, even if it is your spouse, say, well, let's find out how she is today or how he is today and so on. So people are different every day, people change. Mentally, it might not be noticeable, but it happens. Our mind changes moment to moment. Okay? So we've got to see the fullness of a person. Yes? Okay, no, right, so we'll end here then. I'll do a short reflection, as usual. Let's reflect on this sutta. And today, once again, as we approach Chinese New Year, this is kind of early spring. It's a very beautiful sutta to reflect on, the Subha Therigatha. This sutta talks about wholeness, talk about seeing beyond the eyes, not to be restrained, limited, or cheated by our senses, to learn to calm our senses, and to see beyond our senses. That is wisdom. To do that, we'll be truly happy. And when we are happy, we can help other people also be happy. And that's when we can assure them, bring happiness to them. Otherwise, people will always be looking down on us, thinking that we are immature, we are young, or we are incapable of helping ourselves. But with this wisdom, this understanding, we become stronger. With love, with wisdom. With this kind of reflection, which is good mental karma. By the power of such reflection, may our minds literally focus. May we enjoy happiness and peace throughout our lives and those to come. And most importantly, by the power of all this good karma and the other good karmas we have done through our faith in the three jewels, our compassion, our practice of the precepts, our meditation, generosity, may we attain spiritual liberation in this life itself, especially stream winning. At this moment of peace too, let us send our loving kindness out to all those people who are important to us, especially our loved ones, and those whom the Dharma have not touched, that they may be well and happy, come close to Dharma and be truly happy. May all beings be well and happy.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.